sense because I'm truly outside in because I'm not in India at all. So I'd like to give a slightly different perspective. I think what everybody has shared is truly valuable points. And what we are facing in the industry today is unprecedented. And whatever support we can get, we need to get, which is true. The different point of view I want to offer is about the stakeholder groups. To me, there are three stakeholder groups in this industry that are suffering. One is the owner, the owners who have invested in hotels and put up capital for those hotels. Two is the manager. When I say manager, it's international hotel management companies, regional hotel management companies, asset managers, and consultants like me, who will also suffer as a part of the downturn in the industry. And thirdly, it's the workforce, the employees, the larger workforce. As was said before, in the industry, we employ a huge number of people. And I'd like to focus the attention on the workforce. How can we collectively lobby and work with the state and the regional governments for the benefit of the workforce? And I think there's a point to be said here that we should take this outside of the industry and collaborate across industries for the benefit of the workforce. Then the advantage with that is then we cover a larger quantum of people. We'll have a louder voice, a stronger voice, and a bigger case to go with the government and work with the government, because as employees are suffering a lot and they have emotional and economic needs at this time. And I'd like to ask people to focus on how we can get together with industries and work with the state and regional governments in lobbying for support for the workforce, because they're going to need a lot of support. Going back to Australia, there was a comment earlier in the chat group about what other governments have done. Pretty much here, it has been industry agnostic support that has worked, which is a job keeper and job seeker support. So what the government has done is they have given economic support to industries to keep people employed by paying an allowance that unfortunately runs out at the end of September, which will have an impact on the industry, but that has helped keep the workforce in employment. Now, in many other countries, I don't think we have the propensity or capacity to do that, but I'm sure there are other initiatives from a welfare point of view that we can lobby government so that at least we can get something done for the workforce to support them through this difficult time. When it comes to Australia, there has been a lot of government support. So when the hotels were used for quarantine centers, there was healthcare workers plus government from the military and the forces supporting the hotels in their operations. And a lot of those services were provided outside. Even in Sri Lanka, I think when it happens to be the COVID centers or the quarantine hotels, there was government support and oversight of those operations to support those hotels. So that's one differentiator that has been there. But I agree that there can be a stigma attached to it, but I don't see a huge impact of that in the Australian market. Some of the well-known hotels have been used as quarantine and continue to be used at quarantine hotels. And I think they will survive through that. It's also seen as a service to the community at this time that it's needed. The other thing that I want to touch on this subject, Dilip, both you and Rajiv mentioned this. Every hotel company and hotel has jumped on the bandwagon of hygiene and safety, which is not unusual in the circumstances. But I think that is kind of diminishing the differentiators between the brands, the hotels that used to be, and everybody's only talking about hygiene and safety. I think hygiene and safety is going to be the norm. Yes, it is a huge impact at the beginning, but as people get used to it, it is not going to be a differentiator at all. And if you're running a business, the government will ensure that standards are there. I mean, if you take restaurants, for example, when I go to a restaurant in Australia, I still see that the attention to that hygiene factors are not as intense as you would think so from a customer point of view. It is quietly amalgamating to the old ways. Yes, the hygiene practices are, hygiene things are still practiced. However, from a customer point of view, some of them are not that sensitive. Some of them could be sensitive. My concern for the industry is that everybody's putting the hygiene and safety into overdrive, quite rightly so, because it's a need of the hour. But we should not lose sight of the fact of the importance of our brands, importance of our location, importance of our service, and importance of our differentiators in attracting the customers. I think, Dilip, you said that. Why should a customer stay with us? It's not because of hygiene and safety only. That is the norm. We should start focusing on why a customer should stay with us through differentiators so that we can go beyond that to attract the customer base. Thanks, Dilip. Yes, we discussed that, and I would like to address 3 things while I'm talking. And I'm going to put my Hindi to the test here. So I want to talk about Sahayog, I want to talk about Jugaad, and I want to talk about Vishwas. So I'll start with Sahayog, which is collaboration. I think we all know the recovery is going to be phased, right? So we'll probably see domestic travel recovering first, then we'll see travel bubbles if governments initiate it, travel starting from there, then regional and then international. We also know there's a lot of pent-up demand for travel, people wanting to travel, people wanting to take holidays, and people who are not able to go overseas for their travel. So I think in this scenario, what is important is how we promote our cities, our states, and our destinations. And that goes beyond the particular hotel, it goes to the state or the city or the destination. So with that, I think we need to be a collective, a collaboration across the industry to promote it. And I'd like to put it to the team that we need to go beyond competitors. I'd like to put the notion of rivalry, because competition is different to rivalry. And you may ask what the difference is, but when it becomes a rivalry, you work for the same objective, but it brings out the best in each of you. One of the best examples I can give is India-Pakistan cricket. No greater rivalry than that. But when it comes to that match, everybody's putting in extra. The game uplifts to a totally new level. The emotional commitment, the passion is amazing. So if the industry can collaborate beyond competitors as rivals to bring out the best in them and work towards the betterment of the destination, I think that's going to be the first step of the industry recovering. So that's about the Sahayog or collaboration. The second thing I'd like to talk about is Jugaad or innovation. I think a crisis is the best time to do Jugaad, because there's going to be, if you look at the barriers for innovation, it's more about the fear of the unknown. It's the resistance from the management. It's not having time to devote to it outside of business as usual. And sometimes it's impact on revenues and service quality. We don't have any of those fears now. And I think a crisis allows us some freedom to approach things in a different perspective and take some liberties. So I think a crisis allows us a unique opportunity to try unconventional methods, because we have to. We have no choice. A crisis allows us to fast track our delivery because we need it. We are in dire need of innovation. We are in dire need of new revenue streams. So I think it kind of accelerates it. A crisis also is a great breeding ground for new ideas, because we are faced with challenges. We have no choice but to find ways to overcome it. And I think a crisis brings about a greater desire for change and acceptance of change, because change may mean survival. So in that scenario, I would like to put it to the leaders that use the time for innovation. Don't think about today. Don't think about recovering from this crisis. Don't think about next year. Think about setting your industry up for the future. This is the best opportunity you would ever get, almost at a zero reset, to innovate your business, innovate your services, and innovate what you do in order to set yourself up for the infinite time for your business. And lastly, I want to leave a quote with everybody about belief. And this is one of my favorite quotations, and any of my team members on the call might laugh. It's from Jim Collins, from Good to Great. It's a Stockdale paradox, which says, retain absolute faith that you can and will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties, but at the same time, confront the brutal facts of the current reality, whatever they may be. So we need to accept where we are, see what it involves, and at the same time, retain faith that you will succeed when time comes. But what you do now, between now and then is what matters. And that's my Sahayog, Jugaad, and Vishwas.